Welcome to episode 101. And as mentioned in our last episode, when we reached that milestone of 100 episodes, I reflected around the podcast and how I'd started it with that idea of the 100 top problems and questions that business owners and leaders have when it comes to people and culture. And decided that actually we need to move this to an ongoing conversation about how do we unlock our business growth through our people. And as we grow our businesses, we need more people. But often when we start thinking about going through that hiring process, we take a deep breath, grit our teeth, and get ready for it, because when we start recruiting, it can be a long process. There are huge ramifications if we don't get it right. And also, recruitment is just the first step. Once we get through that, then we need to onboard the person and we need to look at probation processes. And all of these things are a huge time investment. So I thought, if we're thinking about growing our business, what's the one thing that is going to help in terms of hiring? And I think we go back to the very first step. It comes back to our employer brand. So this is the way that we're viewed by candidates. And I think there's a danger with small businesses that we think employer brand, oh, that's a big corporate problem. That's, buzzwords that doesn't apply to me. But it applies to every business that hires somebody, because really what it means at the end of the day is it's the way that you are viewed by candidates. And it's going to enable you to stand out to candidates, but also to engage your current employees. And I have talked about employer brand in different episodes, including episodes 19, 30, and 41, if you want to go back into those catalogues. But I thought maybe today I would give an example, a bit of a case study of a business that I worked with around 12 months ago. And it's a retail business, and they were particularly struggling with management roles. So retail, for most people that are working within the business, high levels of casualized workers, people that are students, or they're working because they have other responsibilities. They like the flexibility of retail. So it wasn't for, the standard team member roles that they were having difficulty. It was more the store managers. And of course, if you can't get store managers, then it's very difficult to have stores that are working well, that are efficient, that are profitable, and be able to grow and create other stores as well. Now, the other thing with this business is that they're selling specific products that actually need quite a lot of specialized knowledge. So the training period can be significant if people are coming from still maybe retail, but not within their particular niche. So when I spoke to the managers within this business, we had a discussion about the management roles, but also about the business. And, really I asked a lot of questions about why they were still there. Because, those managers that I was speaking with had been there for many, many years. So it's like, okay, well, what do you love about working here? Why are you still here? And, what are you hearing from other store managers about why they're there? And I did that process because often when we're in a business, we forget about what the good stuff is. Like, we just take it for granted. And we don't think about it as being actually unique to our business. And it can take a third party to start to ask those questions and uncover it, to go, okay, well, these are the things that actually make you different. So if we put it in marketing language, it's those USPs, the unique selling propositions. Because this employer branding exercise is a bit of a marketing exercise, and we're trying to work out what differentiates us from someone else to candidates in the market. So the five main things that came through was, firstly, that their store managers had the privilege within retail of working Monday to Friday. So quite often in retail, you're working nights and you're working weekends. But once you were trained up as a manager and you were quite confident and capable, then you had a Monday to Friday job. Of course, if there were emergencies, there would be other things. But that's a huge benefit in terms of selling that through to the marketplace. Another one is that they're a privately held business. They're not a huge corporation. They have many stores, but they're not owned by one of the big juggernauts out there. So, and that's going to filter and attract people. There'll be people that only want to work for the big corporates. There'll be people that have done that and say, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to go to a smaller business. So for them, it's something they hadn't thought about either, but it is something that's unique. Another one was the training that their store managers would get from their suppliers. Like I said, they had very specific products. So there's lots and lots of training being offered. They had a very professional, very clean environment, which again, when you're working in there, you may not think about it, but for people that work in retail, it's not always the case. So so that's a huge benefit. And also, they were seen as local stores in their area, so that opportunity to build relationships with the locals. So identifying those five things and say, well, this is what makes us different, that gives you things that you can start talking to candidates about so that you don't sound like every other job ad out there. So our next step was reviewing the competition. So having a look at what other roles are currently being advertised that are similar to ours. And let's make sure that we're saying different things because we don't want to get caught up in the muck of what everyone else is saying. And the classic that you will see in most job ads is we have a great culture. But what does that mean? Great culture means nothing. So you need to really specify it, and in this case, for example, we have a family friendly culture. That's resonates a lot more with people than just say we have a great culture, which just gets skimmed over. The other thing that we looked at is who are we targeting for these roles? And in this case, with this company, we actually broke the job ads into different types. So we had some job ads that we targeted people that were quite experienced, and we had other job ads where we were targeting people that were early career. And that's because we could have a mixture of those roles within these management positions. So when we're drafting those job ads, we're looking at who's the target market, we're looking at those unique components, and we want to make sure that we're selling those through, particularly in the job preview and the dot points in the ads. And then the last two things that we'd need to do before we actually start recruiting is training our hiring managers in what those five unique things are, because they need to be really aware that this is actually unique in the market. And so when you're talking to candidates, you need to explain to them what those things are and why that's a benefit. And the other part of training the hiring managers was about adopting a candidate-centric approach. So a lot of people that hire are really hiring the way that they were hired, which could have been 10, 15, 20 years ago, and forget that it's actually a conversation between the candidate and you. This is not the company being judgmental and saying, well, now I need to work out whether you can work for me or not. Those days are over. So we need to think about our candidates as a potential customer and treat them like that. So we need to make sure that we have good processes with lots of good communication, that it's quite speedy, that we're being open and honest with our candidates. So really making sure that our hiring managers are aware of those processes. And finally, we want to make sure that our website and our social media matches what we're selling to the market. So we're saying, well, these are our five unique components. We want to make sure they're also on the careers page of our website, and we're talking about them in terms of our mix that we're putting out into social media. So I hope that helps you to start thinking about your own business. And when you're starting to grow and you need to hire new people, what does that recruitment process look like? So, firstly, before you start recruiting, look at your prior job ads. Start thinking about what is unique to you. You may need to have a discussion with someone else who can help to identify those for you. Secondly, look at your competitors' job ads. How are you different? Make sure that you're not saying the same thing as everybody else, because you're not going to get great candidates applying to you if you sound like everybody else in the market. So you really want to be able to differentiate yourself. Thirdly, be really clear on your target market and split your job ads up if you need to. If you could take someone on a part-time basis versus a full-time basis, you may need two job ads that show that differently. Fourth, we need to train our hiring managers. So It goes into more than just what's unique about us. We go into much more detail in terms of how we should be training our hiring managers, but at least start the process in terms of this is what we're selling to the market, this is why, these are the types of people that we're looking for in terms of who we want to apply for the job. And finally, review your website and your social media. Because to unlock growth in our business, getting that recruitment process right is fundamental to save you money and time and enable that growth. And in our next episode, I'll get more into actually taking a candidate-centric approach to recruiting. In the meantime, you can go back and have a look at those episodes I mentioned, or we also have a free downloadable resource on our website called Hire Right, Making Your Business a People Magnet. And that gives you a checklist that you can go through so you can start to actually put things in place to be more effective with your recruiting. I hope you've received value from this episode. I'd love it if you could leave a rating or review over at Apple Podcasts or Spotify so someone else can also find the episodes to help with their business. Episodes are released every second Monday, so hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified of when it's available. Thanks so much for joining me. If you have any feedback, questions, or ideas for future episodes, then head on over to amplifyhr.com.au or connect with me on LinkedIn and we can start a conversation.